It was a quiet, somber evening in the village of Kanava, with the crescent moon casting a faint glow over the rooftops on this cloud-covered night. A 14-year-old boy made his way home after a long day at the academy in a productive evening training under the guidance of his most trusted mentors. The boy, slightly shorter than average for his age and lean in build, had unruly golden blonde hair, vivid cerulean eyes that seemed to shimmer in the dim light, and 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. This boy was Naruto Uzumaki, host of the Nine-Tailed Fox and, unbeknownst to him, the last descendant of the wolf-blooded. Tonight, Naruto was unusually cheerful, a rare occurrence lately. Though he was known for his endless optimism, the past few weeks had been different. His patience had grown thin, and he often felt restless, as if something deep within him was stirring. His senses had become sharper, almost overwhelming, and he frequently caught fleeting shadows in the corners of his vision. When he had confided in his teacher, Iruka, about these strange sensations, he was subjected to an awkward discussion about the changes that come with adolescence, a topic Naruto would rather forget. Still, he couldn't help but wonder, did everyone start recognizing people by their scent instead of their appearance? Did others see strange movements at the edge of their vision? Despite these questions, Naruto pushed them aside for now. He was determined to enjoy his good mood. After all, tomorrow marked the Genin exams, and he felt confident that this time he would pass. Over the past year, his mentors had helped him make significant progress after his first failed attempt. While he still played the class clown, he had grown considerably. Naruto's confidence stemmed from a pivotal moment a year ago when he confided in the third Hokage about the reasons behind his failure. The elderly leader, furious to learn that Naruto had been sabotaged by his teachers, launched an investigation into the academy's practices. Furthermore, he arranged for 3 exceptional individuals to privately tutor the young boy. Within minutes, 3 shinobi arrived at the Hokage's office. The first was an eccentric man with a bowl-shaped haircut, enormous eyebrows, and a green jumpsuit. The second was a striking woman with short purple hair, golden eyes, and a trench coat over her form-fitting outfit. The last was someone Naruto already knew, Domino Iruka, his favorite instructor, who had always tried to support him. The third Hokage introduced the trio Madogai, an elite taijutsu master, Anko Mitarashi, an expert in ninjutsu, weapons, and interrogation, and Iruka, who would oversee his academic development. All 3 immediately agreed to help Naruto, though their reactions ranged from fiery determination to quiet resolve. From that day forward, Naruto's life took a turn for the better. Training under Guy was intense but rewarding. Naruto's physical conditioning and taijutsu improved tremendously under the guidance of the passionate and eccentric man. Naruto also became close friends with 2 of Guy's other students, Lee and Tenten. Lee, like Naruto, was often underestimated, and Guy frequently called them both hard-working geniuses, which sparked a friendly rivalry and strengthened their bond. Meanwhile, Tenten warmed up to Naruto after he defended her from classmates who teased her about her hairstyle, though Naruto himself often teased her by calling her Mouse-chan. Anko's training pushed Naruto in different ways. Initially intimidated by her fierce personality, Naruto quickly discovered they shared a similar experience of being treated as outcasts by the villagers. Anko's brutal yet effective training regimen honed his skills in weapons, stealth, and tracking, and she even introduced him to the basics of sealing techniques. Her guidance helped Naruto master the shadow clone technique, a solution to his issues with the standard clone jutsu due to his immense chakra reserves. Iruka, on the other hand, strengthened Naruto's academic foundation. From history to science, Iruka's lessons not only improved Naruto's knowledge but also fueled his pranking creativity, such as devising more effective stink bombs. His mentorship also helped Naruto develop better chakra control through simple yet effective exercises. The bond between the 2 deepened, growing into something akin to that of siblings. By the time the exams approached, Naruto was no longer the same boy who had failed the previous year. With his mentor's support, he was ready to show Konoha just how much he had grown. Yes, overall, Naruto was having an incredible year. He was steadily evolving into a skilled ninja, thanks in no small part to Guy's rigorous training, improved diet, and the surprisingly delicious youth elixirs he provided. Naruto felt confident in his ability to ace the upcoming test, especially since Mizuki Team could no longer tamper with it. He was looking forward to joining a strong team led by his eccentric yet supportive sensei and his two closest friends. Although they were a year older, that didn't bother Naruto one bit. Life was finally looking bright for the young Uzumaki until everything changed. Slam. Naruto was abruptly sent flying across the street, landing harshly in an alleyway after a forceful tackle. Instinctively, he rolled to his feet, shifting into the iron fist stance that Guy-sensei had drilled into him. As his sharp eyes assessed the culprits, he immediately recognized the trio who had attacked him. All three were former academy instructors who had been dismissed from their positions half a year ago. Their dismissal was a direct result of the Hokage uncovering their underhanded schemes sabotaging Naruto's training and taking bribes to favor certain students. The man at the center was all too familiar, Mizuki, his ex-teacher, and one of the loudest voices among those who hated him. Mizuki had gone so far as to tamper with Naruto's tests to ensure he failed. After their crimes came to light, Mizuki and several others had been permanently barred from teaching, stripped of their pay, and left to face the consequences of their actions. "What do you and your lackeys want, Mizuki?" Naruto growled, glaring at the man. "Revenge, you little monster," spat one of the former instructors. "Revenge for costing us everything, our jobs, our reputation, our future." "Huh?" Naruto snorted. "You threw your futures away when you chose to take bribes and sabotage an innocent student's progress." "Innocent? You," snarled the second man. "Don't make us laugh. The village should thank us for keeping the demon weak." Naruto rolled his eyes in frustration. "Demon? What's with all of you calling me that? I don't understand what nonsense you're spouting." Though outnumbered and facing three experienced fighters, Naruto remained composed. He knew he couldn't defeat three Chunin-level opponents yet, but he was confident he could hold his ground long enough for someone to come to his aid. While his tone irked the other two, Mizuki's expression twisted into a sinister grin. "Naruto," he began in a tone dripping with false kindness, "don't you want to know why the village despises you? Why they treat you like dirt? Why you'll never be accepted? What nonsense are you babbling about now, Mizuki?" Naruto snapped, narrowing his eyes. But his breath hitched as Mizuki continued speaking. "Mizuki, are you sure about this?" one of the other men asked hesitantly. "Revealing the truth could get us all executed." "Shut up, fool. I know what I'm doing," Mizuki hissed before turning back to Naruto. "Do you remember the story of how the fourth Hokage defeated the nine-tailed fox and saved the village?" At Naruto's cautious nod, Mizuki's smirk widened, his voice growing louder and more unhinged. "Well, that's a lie. The fourth couldn't kill it, so he sealed the beast inside a newborn child. The third Hokage made it law that no one could speak of it to the younger generation. And that child is you, Naruto. You are the nine-tailed fox." Mizuki's voice turned into a deranged yell. "Now die, demon." Naruto froze as the words sank in. His mind raced, piecing together the truth. Suddenly, everything made sense: the hostile glares, the whispered slurs like fox brat and monster, the constant efforts to make his life miserable. The reality hit him like a hammer, and a whirlwind of emotions surged through him. First came shock, then sorrow, followed by despair and anger, which finally morphed into seething rage. "It's not fair," Naruto thought bitterly, his emotions boiling over. "I never asked for this. I didn't want the fox sealed in me. I didn't deserve the hatred and suffering. It's not fair. It's not fair." Naruto roared, his voice echoing through the alley. The raw force of his scream caused the three Chunin to halt mid-charge. Then the pain started unlike anything Naruto had ever experienced. It felt as if his entire body was being torn apart and reshaped from within. Alongside the pain, however, came something else, a rush of power unlike anything he'd ever known. It was intoxicating, exhilarating. His senses sharpened to an extraordinary degree, and for brief moments, his vision flickered between normal and a bizarre, surreal landscape populated by shadowy, otherworldly figures. The transformation overwhelmed him, and Naruto collapsed to his knees, his screams turning into a primal howl that echoed into the night. The three Chunin stood frozen, horror etched on their faces as they watched the boy's body twist and change. His hair lengthened, then receded, growing thicker and lighter in streaks of blonde and brown. His nails elongated into claws, his teeth sharpened into fangs, and his face stretched into a lupin snout. His muscles expanded, his frame growing until he towered at nearly 8 feet. His cerulean eyes now glowed with a fierce yellow hue, like a predator in the wild. Mizuki shrieked in terror. The beast has taken over. Kill it now. As the Tuchinin lunged at him, Naruto's clawed hands moved with deadly precision. One tore into the shoulder of an attacker, while the other ripped through his comrade's abdomen, spilling his insides onto the ground. The wounded man let out a cry and slashed at Naruto's chest with a kunai, landing his strike. A victorious grin formed on his face, but it was short-lived. The gash closed within seconds, fur and skin seamlessly knitting back together. Before the Chunin could react, Naruto's clawed hands gripped his head and, with a sharp twist and a sickening crack, ended him instantly. Mizuki, witnessing his ally's swift and brutal demise, made the only decision that could save him. He turned and ran, his legs pumping as fast as they could carry him. As he fled, his heart pounding, the chilling sound of a victorious howl echoed through the air. If Mizuki had looked back, he might have sworn the moon itself shimmered as if laughing at his cowardice. After letting out one final triumphant hell, Naruto's form slowly reverted to normal. His clothes were torn and shredded, his body collapsing onto the pavement below in exhaustion. Moments later, the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, arrived at the scene with a group of masked Anbu in tow. The sight of the gruesome scene, the remains of the Tuchinin, made the Hokage's eyes narrow as he caught sight of Naruto lying unconscious nearby. Cat, dog, bear, the Hokage commanded, his voice firm. 3 Anbu members stepped forward at once. Take Naruto to the hospital immediately. Ensure there are no lingering threats. Bear carefully lifted the unconscious boy while the Hokage's mind churned with questions. What in the world happened here? Drip. 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 Naruto lay face down, his entire body aching. Drip. 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 Slowly, he began to stir, his mind still clouded. Drip. 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 That damn faucet's leaking again, he thought groggily. But something wasn't right. Wait, how did I get home? The last thing he remembered was Mizuki and the other instructors attacking him, Mizuki's sneering revelation about the demon fox, and a surge of uncontrollable anger, then claws, fangs, and fur. The memories came flooding back all at once, the transformation, the primal power coursing through him, and the gruesome deaths of the Tuchinin. His eyes snapped open as the realization hit him. What happened to me? As he pushed himself up and looked around, confusion gave way to unease. He wasn't at home. He wasn't anywhere familiar. The space around him resembled an enormous sewer, its walls lined with glowing pipes of varying hues, bright blue, silvery white, and an ominous red. The dim, crimson light that filled the area seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. A soft, sibilant voice broke the silence. Come, young wolf. We have much to discuss, you, I, and another. Naruto felt an inexplicable pull, his feet moving of their own accord as he followed the voice. His mind swirled with memories of the transformation, its terrifying strangeness yet undeniable exhilaration. It felt like he had finally broken free of a cage he hadn't even known existed. But then there were the deaths. He felt a pang of guilt but remembered Iruka-sensei's words, a ninja must be prepared to kill to survive. But taking a life doesn't make you a monster, only enjoying it does. The thought steadied him. He hadn't enjoyed it, but he didn't regret it either. His musings ended as he stood before a massive, shadowed gate wrapped in thick chains. In its center was a single slip of paper bearing a seal. As he approached, 2 blood-red eyes, each as large as his head, snapped open, sending a jolt of fear through him. A deep, growling voice echoed from behind the bars, shaking the very ground beneath him. Greetings, young wolf. Do you know who I am? Naruto stumbled back, his eyes widening in shock as a colossal fox head emerged from the shadows, its fur the same menacing red as its glowing eyes. His initial fear quickly gave way to fury. Yeah, I know who you are, he shouted. You're the reason everyone's hated me my whole life. You're the Ninetails. The massive fox's eyes widened in surprise. The boy is sharper than most give him credit for, it thought. The beast's gaze softened, and an air of sorrow seemed to surround it as it remembered the torment the child had endured because of its presence. Its voice, quieter now, carried an unexpected tenderness as it spoke again. "You are correct. For what it's worth, I deeply regret the suffering my imprisonment has caused you. Truly, I am sorry." A faint sound, almost like a stifled sob, accompanied the fox's words. Naruto's eyes widened at the unexpected vulnerability in the creature's tone and expression. He could feel the weight of its sorrow. An idea began forming in his mind. You never wanted to attack Konoha, did you?" he asked, though it sounded more like a statement than a question. "No," the fox confirmed. "I was forced into a violent frenzy by a man with eyes like burning embers and another whose scent reeked of serpents." The creature paused, its massive eyes tinged with sadness as it studied Naruto. "How did you know?" it asked, curiosity flickering through its mournful gaze. Naruto shrugged. "I don't know, I just felt it. Maybe because we're connected through the seal." He gestured vaguely around them. "By the way, where are we? Mizuki-teen said you were locked inside me." "This is your mind," the fox explained, its voice carrying a hint of amusement. "A reflection of your subconscious." Naruto groaned dramatically. "Fantastic. My subconscious is literally a sewer. Just my luck," he muttered, slumping his shoulders, drawing a low, rumbling chuckle from the fox. A sudden thought struck the young blonde. "Hey, you keep calling me that weird word Uritha, or something. What does that even mean?" Naruto asked, his curiosity piqued. "That," a new voice interjected, firm yet warm, "is a question I can answer." The voice was matronly yet powerful, carrying an air of authority like a commanding elder. The fox lowered its head respectfully. "As you will," it said, stepping back slightly. From the shadows emerged a tall, regal woman. Her presence radiated power and grace. Her pale skin bore the marks of time, while her flowing hair shimmered like moonlight. She wore garments that seemed to be woven from threads of silver and white gold, adorned with the phases of the moon in intricate patterns. Her piercing silver eyes gazed down at Naruto with a mixture of warmth and solemnity. "Greetings, young one," she said, her voice steady yet kind. "I have been called many names throughout the ages. The people of this land know me as Tsukiyomi. However, I prefer the names given to me in ancient times Luna, or simply, Mother Moon." Naruto stared, awestruck. "Wait, are you a goddess?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Luna smiled faintly. "Yes and no, child. While I am often revered as such, I am, like the fox you call Kyuabai, a spirit. A powerful one, yes, but a spirit nonetheless. Many of the beings your people worship as gods are of a similar nature. The same is true of the so-called Shinigami. However, let us not lose focus. You wished to understand the term Uritha, correct?" "Oh, right. Sorry," Naruto apologized, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "It's quite all right," Luna replied, her tone patient. She cleared her throat softly before continuing. "The term Uritha is tied to an ancient tale. Long ago, the world was a united realm, known as Pangaea. There was no division between the physical world and the spirit world, which we call the Shadow Realm." Sorry to interrupt, but what's the Shadow Realm?" Naruto asked, his head tilted in confusion. "The Shadow Realm," Kyuabai interjected, "is a mirror of your world, reflecting its physical and emotional aspects. A place may be dark and barren yet feel warm and inviting if it is filled with positive emotions. Similarly, a beautiful landscape marred by pain or sorrow will appear twisted and foreboding in the shadow." "Now, kindly refrain from interrupting Luna-sama again." "Thank you, Kyuabai," Luna said with a nod. "As I was saying, Pangaea was a paradise, safeguarded by one of the most powerful spirits, Father Wolf. As he aged, he created children to assist him in maintaining balance. These children were part mortal, part spirit, the first Uritha." Naruto's eyes grew wide, but he stayed silent, letting Luna continue. "For centuries, the Uritha helped Father Wolf maintain the harmony between the physical world and the shadow. However, as time passed and Father Wolf grew weary from age and battle, the Uritha chose to end his suffering. In his final moments, Father Wolf's howl shattered the bonds that connected the two worlds, creating the divide between the physical and the shadow. Racked with guilt, the Eurytha swore an oath to preserve the balance between the worlds. I, one of Father Wolf's oldest companions, took them under my protection. Luna's expression darkened slightly. For millennia, the Eurytha fulfilled their duty, but a great calamity, the human demon war, erased their kind, or so I believed. This event weakened the barrier between worlds and awakened humanity's ability to wield chakra, allowing them to defend themselves. A fragile new balance replaced the old one. Luna turned her gaze to Naruto, her expression softening. Now, young one, you stand at a crossroads. You are among the last of the Eurytha, and your recent transformation has awakened your heritage. I can grant you the powers of your ancestors, shaping them into what your people call a Kekii Genkai. But there is a price. You must take the ancient oath of the moon and pass this responsibility to your descendants. Naruto's mind reeled as he processed her words. After a long pause, he asked hesitantly, "What does the oath of the moon require?" Luna gave him a calm smile before speaking. "The oath itself is straightforward," she began. "You must swear on your name and spirit to uphold 7 principles. First, Urim de Takus, the wolf must hunt. This means that you and your descendants must strive to combat the ancient evils that dwell in both the physical and spiritual worlds. While not every member of your clan has to be a warrior, none may aid these evils and must work to oppose them. Second, Imranu for Imra, the people do not murder the people. This mandates that no member of your clan may take the life of another without just cause. Third, Sisihi Mak, Mak can he see, the low honor the high respect the low. This principle requires you to give respect where it is due and reciprocate respect shown to you by those beneath you. It's a safeguard against arrogance or superiority, which has plagued some clans in the past. Fourth, Ni Daha, respect your prey. This rule dictates that you honor the creatures you hunt and the lives they once lived. Fifth, Eurytha se fulfill Luyu, the wolf shall bond with the human. This means you must not mate with another of your kind or wolves, though human-formed spirits are exempt. Luna gave Kyuubi a sly wink, causing the latter to blush. Naruto noticed Kyuubi's reaction and shouted in shock, "Wait. You're a girl? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" With a mischievous grin, Kyuubi responded, "Oh, must have slipped my mind." In a burst of red energy, she transformed into a human-like form. Before Naruto stood a breathtakingly beautiful young woman, appearing in her late teens with long fiery red hair and striking crimson eyes. Her crimson kimono was adorned with elegant black and gold fox patterns, perfectly complementing her 9 flowing tails and fox ears perched atop her head. Her heart-shaped face, alluring figure, and radiant confidence left Naruto stammering. "So, Naruto-kun, what do you think of my human form?" she teased, her voice playful. Naruto, face flushed and voice barely audible, muttered, "You're beautiful." Luna, clearly amused, interrupted their moment. "If you two are done, may I continue?" "Of course, Luna-sama." "Forgive us," Kyuubi replied with a bow, followed by a sheepish apology from Naruto. Luna resumed, "The 6th rule, Nuhu Azuaren, do not feast on the flesh of man or wolf. This should be self-explanatory. Lastly, the final oath is newly forged, Sihitum Nada Ijith, honor your word and the vows you make under the moon. It binds you to uphold your promises made in my name, though exceptions apply if you were deceived. Breaking these oaths will result in severe consequences." She paused, observing Naruto to gauge his reaction. Naruto pondered for a moment, recognizing that the oaths aligned with values he already upheld. He spoke confidently, "I, Naruto Uzumaki, swear upon my name and spirit to honor the oath of the moon for all my days." He bowed deeply, and Luna nodded in approval. "Well done, Naruto-kun," Luna praised with a small smile. "Now, let me explain the powers you have inherited. The fundamental gifts include heightened senses, communication with wolves and canines, and accelerated healing. However, these blessings come at a cost. Silver is now your greatest weakness. It burns your flesh, poisons you, and suppresses your regeneration. Beyond the basics, you'll gain abilities tied to your auspice, transformative forms, and the capacity to wield spiritual energy for rituals. Your auspice, determined by the moon phase during your awakening, grants unique powers. For example, those under the full moon, Rahu, possess the warrior's eye, enabling them to discern the strength and capabilities of their foes with a glance. The Catalyth, born under the gibbous moon, are visionaries who experience prophetic dreams that provide insight into challenges they face. Half-moon children, Iladith, excel as diplomats and negotiators, their auspice enhancing their ability to communicate with spirits. New moon children, Iraka, are scouts and assassins whose pathfinder's sense makes them adept at detecting spiritual influences. As for you, born under the crescent moon, your auspice is Aether, the ritual master. This grants you unmatched talent in learning and performing powerful rituals, alongside an enhancement to your intellect. Naruto listened intently, absorbing her words. While he found the warrior aspects of Ravu or Iraka appealing, he couldn't deny that the Aether abilities sounded fascinating. He made a mental note to learn more about these rituals as Luna concluded her explanation. Now let's move on to your transformative abilities, Luna began, her voice holding a tone of instruction. Your first form is called Hishu, or the human. This is your natural state, the one you've always known. However, once fully awakened, you may notice subtle improvements in your physical abilities. The next form is Dalu, or the near human. This form keeps your human shape but adds a feral edge. Your body hair grows thicker, nails and teeth sharpen, and your muscles gain some definition. It provides enhanced strength, endurance, and sensory perception while maintaining some level of subtlety. Then there's Garu, or the warrior beast. This is the form you used during the earlier attack. It blends human and beast traits, offering sheer physical power. You gain sharp claws, full fangs, and a muscular, towering physique. This form massively boosts strength, stamina, speed, size, and sensory awareness, along with minor enhancements to reflexes and agility. Your skin also thickens slightly, granting basic protection. The Urshul form, or the hunting beast, transforms you into an enormous wolf, far larger than normal. It excels in speed and sensory perception, making it ideal for high-speed combat, tracking, or escape. Alongside its extraordinary swiftness, it provides heightened strength, agility, and stamina. Finally, there's Urhan, or the wolf form. This is your smallest shape and resembles an ordinary wolf. While it lacks raw combat power, it offers unparalleled speed and sensory abilities. It's best suited for tracking and reconnaissance. Shifting between these forms is simple. Focus on the form you desire, and the transformation will follow naturally. Naruto's eyes gleamed with excitement, eager to explore each form and their unique strengths. Luna continued, next, let's discuss essence and spiritual techniques. Essence is the energy of the shadow realm, somewhat akin to the chakra used by shinobi. However, while chakra requires hand signs, essence responds to visualization. Spirits use this to activate their charms, techniques tied to their nature. For instance, a fire spirit might wield flame-based charms. Uritha, however, are unique. You can master nearly any charm if a spirit teaches you. These charms are ranked from level 1 to 5, and as you grow stronger, higher level charms will become accessible. Currently, you can manage level 1 and, perhaps, some level 2 charms. Restoring essence takes time, weeks, even through meditation and rest. However, near a locus, a place where essence naturally gathers, you can replenish it quickly, usually within an hour. Naruto nodded, captivated by the idea of these spiritual techniques. Finding one of these loci might be a challenge, but he was confident he could manage it. That concludes our discussion for now, but before I depart, I have a few gifts for you, Luna said, her gaze assessing Naruto. First, I'll bestow some charms: Twin Realms Sight, Hunter's Allure, Partial Shift, and Silent Strike. She placed a hand on his head, and with a shimmer of silver light, the knowledge of the charms flowed into his mind. The first is linked to your auspice, allowing only you to use it. The next two are gifts from the Great Spirit and myself, while the last is derived from one of the moon's aspects, stealth and precision, she explained. Your second gift awaits in your home. Lastly, heed my advice: the 5 wolf brothers will seek you out. Honor them, and you'll gain powerful allies and teachers. As Luna prepared to leave, Huabai interrupted. Before you go, I have a request concerning Naruto, and I'd like you to oversee it. Luna raised an eyebrow but gestured for Kyuubi to continue. I wish to become Naruto's patron spirit, Kyuubi declared, earning a curious look from Naruto. What does that mean? Naruto asked. A patron spirit offers guidance and power in exchange for a price, Luna explained. Kyuubi continued, if you accept, Naruto, I'll provide spiritual techniques I've mastered, serve as your lifelong advisor, and grant you access to my chakra. My conditions are simple. First, I want to share your senses while we're bonded. Second, if you ever find a way to free me without harm to either of us, I ask that you do so. Kyuubi's gaze held a flicker of hope as Naruto considered the offer. Naruto smirked at the fox spirit, his expression filled with genuine warmth. Hugh-chan, he said softly, I would have helped you regardless of any deal. I know the attack on Konoha wasn't your choice, so punishing you for it wouldn't make any sense. His voice carried a quiet conviction. The Kyuubi blinked, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Thank you, Naru-kun, she replied, her tone filled with gratitude. So, how do we proceed with this? Naruto asked, his curiosity piqued. Simply loosen a corner of the seal, and I'll handle the rest, the fox explained. Naruto complied, feeling a rush of crimson energy envelop both of them as the connection between them deepened. The Kyuubi gently placed one of her tails against his forehead, granting him abilities she called the Call Element, Feet of Mist, and Speak with Beasts 1. As the process completed, her voice softened to a near whisper. I look forward to working with you, Naru-kun, she said as he faded from the mindscape. As Naruto stirred back to consciousness, he took in his surroundings without opening his eyes. The antiseptic smell of the hospital filled his senses, accompanied by the faint hum of medical equipment. Fantastic. Of all places, I end up here, he thought with a grimace. A familiar scent nearby made his lips curl into a frown. Exactly the person I need to talk to, he thought bitterly. Opening his eyes, he glared at the elderly Hokage sitting beside him. Hello, old man, he greeted coldly, his tone sharp. We need to have a serious conversation. Sarutobi started, caught off guard by the harshness in Naruto's voice. The boy's icy gaze was unlike anything he had seen before. Indeed, Naruto, the Hokage replied solemnly. We do need to talk. Naruto sat upright, his newly enhanced senses taking in the changes to his body. Luna-sama wasn't exaggerating about physical changes, he noted, examining his leaner, taller frame. He had shot up from 5'3" to an imposing 5'11". His wiry muscles now had a predatory sharpness, his features more rugged, and his teeth and nails noticeably sharper. Definitely an upgrade, came Kyuubi's amused voice in his mind. How long was I out? Naruto demanded, his tone clipped. 2 weeks, the Hokage admitted. Naruto clenched his fists, his frustration evident. So, I failed again, huh? When Sarutobi nodded, Naruto slammed his fist into the nightstand beside his bed, splintering it. Damn it, he shouted, anger and disappointment boiling over. I worked so hard, and it still wasn't enough. Sarutobi's heart ached as he watched the boy's outburst. Naruto, he said gently, I know how much this meant to you. I'm sorry things didn't work out, but perhaps this will give you a chance to grow stronger and make new friends. He reached out to place a hand on Naruto's shoulder, only for the boy to pull away sharply. Don't, Naruto growled. The Hokage's concern deepened. Naruto, what happened that night? Why are you treating me this way? You really want to know, Hokage-sama? Naruto snapped, the title deliberately formal and cold. Fine. I'll tell you. He recounted the events of that fateful night in vivid detail, the ambush by Mizuki and the 2 teachers, Mizuki's revelation about the fox, his transformation, and the deaths of his attackers. He spoke of meeting Luna, though he left out anything involving the Kyuubi, no longer trusting the old man enough to reveal that. By the time Naruto finished, Sarutobi was reeling. Naruto had learned about the fox, killed 2 trained shinobi, gained extraordinary new abilities, and experienced profound changes all in a single night. So, Hokage-sama, Naruto began, his voice laced with venom, were you ever planning to tell me about the creature inside me? The Hokage swallowed hard, the weight of the boy's glare pressing down on him. Naruto, he began, his voice heavy with regret, I know this is difficult for you, but you know nothing. Naruto interrupted with a bitter laugh. Do you have any idea what it's like to be hated for reasons you don't understand? To be attacked and blame yourself for it? Or to find out that the one person you trusted most has been lying to you your entire life? Do you have any idea what that feels like, old man? His voice rose to a roar as he finished, his anger and pain laid bare. The elder stepped back, startled by the raw pain and anger lacing the young man's voice. Naruto, Save it, Naruto cut in, his voice cold and detached. If that's all, Hokage-sama, I'd like to be alone now. The older man wanted to say more, to offer some kind of explanation, but he knew it was futile. Naruto, in his current state, wouldn't hear him out. Besides, he had no excuses left to give. With a heavy sigh, he nodded and turned to leave. Just as he reached the door, he spoke softly, Naruto, I know you are angry with me, and I wouldn't blame you if you hated me. But I was only trying to protect you. For what it's worth, I am truly sorry, my boy. Naruto heard the words and responded just as quietly, I know, old man. I know you were trying to protect me in your own misguided way. That's why I don't hate you. But I can't trust you anymore. He shook his head sadly. The Hokage paused, a faint, bittersweet smile gracing his face. He nodded once and left the room, walking with a determined air. There was much he needed to do to regain the boy's trust. Later that evening, the setting sun bathed the streets in warm hues as Naruto left the hospital, fully healed and heading home. As he walked, he felt the familiar weight of the villagers' glares and the sting of their muttered insults. It was the same as always, but today was different. Today, he knew the truth behind their hatred. And instead of the usual sadness or loneliness, hot anger surged through him. These fools can't tell the difference between a human and a sealed spirit? He thought, his irritation bubbling to the surface. Who are you calling a spirit, brat? A feminine voice echoed in his mind, laced with mock offense. Naruto mentally winced. Sorry about that, Kyuubi. Forgot about our link. You're not just a spirit, you're a proud, powerful vixen. The compliment earned a blush from the being within him. Humph. At least you know how to apologize properly, she huffed, though her tone softened slightly. As they conversed, Naruto's sharp senses picked up on the sound of a rock slicing through the air. Reacting instinctively, he caught the projectile with ease and turned to face the thrower, a short, overweight man with pink hair, clearly a member of the Harino merchant clan. Naruto's grip tightened around the stone as his irritation flared. With a fluid motion, he hurled the rock back. It struck the man's nose with a sickening crack, sending him stumbling backward with a yelp. The gathered crowd froze in stunned silence. Naruto's eyes swept over them, his expression dark and unyielding. Listen up, all of you, he growled. His voice cut through the quiet, commanding attention. I've put up with your abuse for years, and I'm done. I know why you all hate me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. But let me make something very clear, I'm not the fox. If I were, do you think I'd let you get away with everything you've done to me? The crowd shifted uneasily under his sharp gaze. I didn't think so, he continued. So hear this, if any of you try anything again, I'll make sure you regret it. You throw something at me? I'll throw it back twice as hard. You lay a hand on me? I'll break it. You try to poison me? You'll be the one choking on it. With his piece said, Naruto turned and walked away, leaving the murmuring crowd behind him. That was quite the performance, Kyuubi remarked. I especially liked the part about double the force. Very fitting for someone like you. It wasn't a performance, Naruto retorted. I meant every word. I'm not their punching bag anymore. I've found my pride, and I'm not letting it go. As you should, Kyuubi replied approvingly. You're stronger than them, and they should know it. That kind of confidence is attractive, she added with a sly tone, causing Naruto to blush. A short while later, Naruto arrived at his apartment. It was modest but comfortable, with 4 rooms, a living area, a small kitchen, a bedroom, and a bathroom. The place was clean, thanks to the Hokage likely sending someone to tidy up during his hospital stay. As Naruto surveyed his home, guilt flickered within him for how he'd spoken to the old man. But he quickly shook it off. The Hokage had made his choices, and he needed to face the consequences. Maybe this will finally push him to fix the village, Naruto mused. There are plenty of issues that need addressing, starting with the Uchiha clan's superiority complex. If only more of them were like Itari. The thought of Itari brought a rare smile to his lips. She had been his guard during her early days as a jonin, and they had formed a strong bond. Unlike most of her clan, Itari despised the arrogance that had taken root among the Uchiha. With that comforting memory in mind, Naruto settled in for the evening, ready to face whatever came next. As Naruto carefully scanned his home for intruders or hidden dangers, a habit formed from past experiences, his eyes landed on a peculiar box sitting on the kitchen counter. The object rested directly beneath an open window, bathed in a beam of moonlight. Naruto-kun, that appears to be the second part of Lunasama's gift, the Kyuubi informed him. It carries her scent, and that glow is her unique mark. Acknowledging the fox's words, Naruto approached the box. The box was sizable, about 2 feet long and 1.5 feet wide, constructed of a grayish metal. Its hinged lid seemed designed to open easily without detaching. A note in an unfamiliar script rested atop it, yet Naruto found he could read it effortlessly. Kyuubi, he asked curiously, how am I able to understand this language? I've never seen it before. The script is known as the First Tongue, the Kyuubi replied. It's an ancient language spoken by powerful spirits and the Uritha. You're able to comprehend it instinctively because the Uritha have a natural affinity for the language. It's like a reflex, your mind recognizes and translates it automatically. Naruto accepted the explanation, finding it consistent with the strange revelations he'd experienced recently. Picking up the box, he moved it to his living room table before unfolding the note to read. Dear Naruto. Within this box are a series of gifts, relics of the Uritha legacy. Each is a unique enchanted item, known as a fetish. Fetishes are tools or weapons imbued with power by binding a willing or subdued spirit to them through rituals. They are ranked from levels 1 to 5, depending on their potency. Creating such items requires specialized training, particularly for the more advanced levels. This box itself is a fetish, known as the Ghost Keeper box. Only an Uritha can interact with it. To others, it remains intangible. Furthermore, its contents are hidden from detection by any means other than direct sight, making it invaluable for safeguarding or transporting precious items. Naruto nodded thoughtfully as he absorbed the information. This could be incredibly useful, Kyuubi remarked. You could use it for secure storage or to transport valuables without fear of theft or detection. Agreeing with her insight, Naruto opened the box. The first item he retrieved was a cylindrical object about 1.5 feet long. Wrapped in dark leather, it featured snarling wolf heads carved into either end. A note attached to the item explained its function. This weapon is a fetish known as the Wolf's Fang, a double-blade polearm. To activate it, twist the handle. Turning it one way releases a broad, double-edged blade, while twisting it the other way reveals a crescent-shaped blade. To deactivate, simply twist in reverse. The shaft can also be separated into 2 individual weapons by simultaneously twisting both ends in opposite directions while pulling them apart. Reattaching them is just as simple, bring the ends together and reverse the motion. Naruto followed the instructions, twisting the handle upward. With a soft shank, the shaft extended, revealing a spear blade at one end. He twisted the other end downward, and a crescent blade emerged, sharp and gleaming. Satisfied, Naruto separated the weapon into 2 parts, testing its balance with practice slashes and jabs. Even with his limited training in polearms, the weapon felt flawless in his hands, a true masterpiece. Tenten would go wild over this, Naruto thought, imagining the weapon enthusiast's excitement. I'll need to visit her shop for a scroll on double-blade polearm techniques. Kyuubi chimed in approvingly. A weapon is only as effective as the skill of its wielder, she advised. Naruto nodded, retracting the blades and setting the weapon aside before reaching into the box again. This time, he pulled out a longbow paired with a quiver full of arrows. The bow was crafted from white ash, its surface etched with images of the moon's phases, from crescent to full. The string glowed softly with a silvery hue that, to Naruto's relief, did not burn his fingers. The quiver, made of supple gray leather, held arrows with ashed shafts, silver feathers, and a variety of arrowheads, crescent-shaped for damage, narrow piercing tips for armored targets, rounded heads for non-lethal strikes, and standard broad heads. Opening the attached note, Naruto read its contents. This bow is called Moonlight, a powerful artifact. Unlike ordinary bows, it fires arrows with unparalleled speed and precision. By channeling your energy into it, you can summon arrows of pure energy that penetrate solid barriers and pursue targets no matter how agile or evasive they are. The accompanying quiver is enchanted to regenerate spent arrows under the moon's light, but it can also be replenished instantly by infusing it with energy. You can customize the number and type of arrows it generates, but by default, it holds 20 broadheads, 10 frog catch arrows, 10 fouling arrows, and 10 piercing arrows. Naruto examined the weapon, impressed. Bows were rare among shinobi due to the difficulty of mastering archery alongside standard ninja techniques. However, those who did excel in the craft were known for their unmatched range and lethality. I'll need to add a guide on Kyoto to my shopping list, Naruto thought, sharing the plan with Kyuubi, who responded with a sly grin. You might not need to worry so much about energy, Naruto, Kyuubi remarked. Why's that? Naruto asked curiously. Your enormous chakra reserves are mirrored by your energy reserves, Kyuubi explained. Plus, you can easily convert chakra into energy and vice versa with minimal effort. Running out shouldn't be a concern. Naruto nodded thoughtfully. He had always known about his chakra reserves, but the fact that his energy reserves matched them and were interchangeable was new information. Experimenting, he drew the bowstring and focused his energy. Instantly, a shimmering arrow of silver light materialized on the taut string. Letting out a low whistle, he slowly released the tension, causing the arrow to dissolve into nothingness. Satisfied, he set the bow and quiver next to the wolf's fang and reached into the box for the next item. His hand emerged with an ancient-looking book. Its worn leather cover bore no title, and its yellowed pages hinted at great age. Attached to the front was a letter, which Naruto unfolded and read. This book contains many of the rituals known to the tribes bound by the Oath of the Moon. The contents are categorized by level, with an enchantment preventing access to those you lack the skill to perform. It also describes various enchanted items, or talents, that can be created at your current level. These talents are one-use items with potent effects. Written entirely in a secret language, it ensures that only those familiar with it can decipher its contents. Naruto's eyes gleamed with interest. He had intended to ask Kyuubi about the rituals Luna mentioned but had been sidetracked by the sheer volume of information. Skimming the book, he discovered an array of rituals and items ranging from practical to highly specialized. Thanks to his abilities, he could perform up to level 2 rituals and craft corresponding items, a feat likely tied to his unique traits. After an hour of browsing, he set the book beside the other artifacts and reached into the box once more. This time, he pulled out a pair of glasses with crescent-shaped lenses. Reading the attached note, he learned. These glasses, called crescent lenses, are imbued with the ability to identify spirits' rank, type, and nature. They're invaluable for assessing foes or allies in the spirit realm. Kyuubi can provide further insight into the spirit hierarchy. Placing the glasses on, Naruto noted how they didn't interfere with his vision, even in the dim lighting. What did she mean by spirit ranks, Kyuubi? He asked. Kyuubi's tone shifted to that of an instructor as she explained. Spirits are categorized into 4 broad ranks, each with subdivisions. At the bottom are Gaflings, divided into lesser and greater classes. Lesser Gaflings are animalistic and weak, easily handled by novice shinobi. Greater Gaflings are stronger, with either enhanced intelligence or brute strength. Next are Jagglings, also split into lesser and greater tiers. Lesser Jagglings match seasoned genin, while greater ones can challenge chunin or even jonin. Above them are the Incarni, split into minor, lesser, and greater subcategories. Minor Incarni rival elite jonin, lesser ones stand equal to cage-level shinobi, and greater ones are akin to us-tailed beasts. At the pinnacle are the Celestials, the deities of legend. They're unfathomably powerful and only interact with mortals on their terms, as Luna did with you. There's also a rumored fifth rank, primordials, to which Father Wolf is said to have belonged, but none have existed since ancient times. As Kyuubi finished her explanation, Naruto absorbed the knowledge. He set the glasses next to the ritual book before diving back into the box for the final item. It was a small, brown leather pouch, with a note attached to the side. The contents made a faint rattling sound as Naruto moved it, but he decided to read the note before opening it. Naruto, this pouch, and the crystal inside are known as spirit cages. They are special crystals designed to capture and contain spirits you defeat in combat until you can either bind them into fetishes or offer them to other spirits. They activate automatically when a spirit is slain, absorbing it into the crystal if there is space available. The bag currently holds about 50 crystals, which I advise you to relocate, as the bag itself is too valuable to be carried around unless you're planning an extended journey. The crystals are destroyed once used, but you can easily make more. To create new ones after the old are consumed, simply channel essence into the bag and leave it exposed to moonlight for an entire night. In the morning, the crystals will have reformed based on the amount of essence you spent. Naruto nodded. This would certainly come in handy when he needed to create new fetishes or tools, but the thought of killing spirits just to craft weapons didn't sit right with him. Sensing Naruto's feelings, Kyuubi spoke up, "You don't have to use spirits with good intentions, Naruto. There are plenty of corrupt and malicious spirits out there, and it's your duty as an Uritha to eradicate them. Remember, the lower-level spirits are no more intelligent than wild animals, so it's no different than hunting a deer for its meat." Naruto smiled, appreciating her words. He knew that as long as he only hunted corrupt or beast-like spirits, he would be in the clear. "Thanks, Hugh. I don't know what I'd do without you," Naruto thought, causing the fox to blush. "You'd probably end up dead somewhere by now," she quipped. Naruto chuckled, then removed the crystals from the pouch. Each one was shaped like a gemstone, octagonal and translucent silver in color. He placed them in a ninja pouch on his belt and safely stored the original pouch back in the box. Naruto glanced at the clock. It was nearing midnight. "Time to sleep," he murmured, gathering his new items and stowing them away under a loose floorboard in his room. "Got a busy day tomorrow, huh, Q?" he thought. "Yep, we need to get some training scrolls for your 2 new weapons, and you'll need new clothes and equipment. Your old ones barely fit anymore, and no more tacky orange jumpsuits," Kyuubi ordered. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Never liked those anyway, but they're the only things those Harano stores would sell me," he growled mentally. "Lucky for me, Tenten's family likes me and owns a supply shop. I was planning on getting new clothes after I graduated anyway." "Good. You should also talk to your friends today. They're probably worried about you. Afterward, we can look for a nearby locus, and then focus on mastering the basics of your new powers before heading into the shadow to start earning your gifts," Kyuubi responded. Naruto nodded as he drifted into sleep. Tomorrow, his new life would begin. The next morning, Naruto woke up early the next morning, stretching and doing some light aerobics to shake off the stiffness. After completing his standard morning workout, a regimen developed by Guy-sensei, 100 push UPS, 100 sit UPS, a half hour of jumping jacks, and an hour of crunches, he felt refreshed. Guy's routine was designed to keep Naruto in top shape. His sensei had bluntly told him that his body wasn't built for high-power taijutsu but rather for speed and agility. Guy emphasized using Naruto's light frame to improve his agility, high stamina to outrun opponents, lean muscles for greater speed, and natural flexibility to slip past an enemy's guard. Initially, Naruto had been disappointed. He had wanted to fight head-to-head, not run away. That changed when Guy showed him the Goken combat style, using speed and momentum to deliver devastating blows. Guy had demonstrated by turning boulders into rubble with just his speed and striking like a beast, inspiring Naruto. Guy had reassured him that his natural body type was perfectly suited for this style, and Naruto eagerly embraced it. He became a training enthusiast, pushing himself to refine his speed, stamina, and flexibility in battle. The training regimen Guy created reinforced Naruto's muscle mass while keeping his flexibility intact. A year ago, Naruto would have relied on his endurance and brute force to win. Now, He fought with precision, using his speed to land powerful strikes or a flurry of rapid blows. His agility allowed him to slip past even the most formidable defenses. While he still relied on his endurance, it had become a natural part of his fighting style, honed through training. Though he planned to delay his usual post-workout run, Naruto knew he needed to head out soon to meet Tenten at her family's shop for some shopping before she left for Guy's morning practice. He knew the three of them had become a genin team without him, and it saddened him a little. But he was determined to tell them about his secret today, along with explaining things to Guy-sensei, who was probably already aware. He was anxious about their reaction. What if they hated him after learning the truth? They won't, Huabai reassured him. They're true friends, and they'll accept you for who you are. Her comforting words dulled his fears, though a part of him still wondered what would happen. Thanks, Hu-chan, he thought softly. Huabai blushed at the nickname, but nodded in agreement. With his mind now clear, Naruto exited the shower and dressed. He noticed his old clothes were no longer fitting properly due to his growth spurt, so he improvised by cutting off the sleeves and legs of an old shirt and pants. He also added slits to the sides of his shirt and remaining pant legs, giving him more freedom of movement. Naruto hated restrictive clothing, which was why he avoided the form-fitting bodysuits his sensei and friend liked. The result was a slightly ragged pair of shorts and a sleeveless shirt that left part of his toned stomach exposed. While it might not win any fashion contests, it was functional enough and allowed him to move freely. He retrieved the Ghost Keeper box from its hiding place and removed some of his new possessions. He placed the wolf's fang on the small of his back in a special sheath he found, hung Moonlight and its quiver over his left and right shoulders for easy access, and put the crescent glasses on the bridge of his nose. He kept the Tome of Rites and Spirit Catcher pouch in the box for safekeeping, but took the pouch of crystals and attached it to his now loosely fitting belt before returning the box to its hiding spot. Ready for whatever awaited him, Naruto locked his apartment behind him. As he walked through Konoha's streets, he noticed that the villagers' treatment of him had changed. They still glared and muttered insults, but aside from that, they left him alone. He figured word of the previous day's incident had spread through the village by now. He wasn't too concerned about any repercussions, since he doubted anyone could make a solid case against him. If they tried, he could always invoke a truth detection jutsu to clarify that the stone had been thrown at him first. A voice broke his thoughts. Stop, you demon whelp. Naruto slowly turned and saw three figures blocking the road. Two were large, muscular men, one bald with a scar on his cheek, the other a heavier set man in a sleeveless shirt. In between them stood a scrawny man with pink hair. Naruto's immediate thought was, not again another Haruno, probably here to avenge the fool from yesterday. As expected, the pink-haired man spoke up. Demon. I, Kazuura Haruno, am here to avenge my cousin Chibi, whom you attacked yesterday without mercy. Just as I thought, Naruto mentally groaned. Huabai spoke up with a dry tone, figures. He's just like the others. Naruto smirked. What honor are you talking about? He threw a stone at me while my back was turned. All I did was return it. To his face. Silence. Kazuura shrieked, before ordering his lackeys to hold Naruto down. He drew a knife with a menacing grin. The two goons lunged at Naruto, expecting him to run as usual. But Naruto wasn't the same person anymore. He calmly warned, listen up. I'm not the same kid who runs away to avoid trouble. If you attack me, I'll fight back. Consider this a warning. With that, he assumed a taijutsu stance. The two thugs hesitated for a moment, thrown off by Naruto's confidence. But neither backed down. The bald thug rushed in with his arms wide, intending to grab Naruto and pin him. Naruto dodged, spinning around the thug and landing a heel kick to his ankle. The thug fell forward, skidding across the ground. Seeing his partner distracted, the larger thug charged at Naruto, cocking a fist to strike. Naruto easily deflected the blow, chopping at his wrist. He followed up with a powerful palm strike to the thug's gut. As the thug bent forward, Naruto finished with a spinning kick to the side of his head, knocking him out. The first thug had regained his footing and charged from behind, throwing a punch. Naruto spun out of the way and used the momentum to slam his elbow into the thug's exposed throat. As the thug gagged, Naruto delivered a knee strike to his jaw, sending the man falling back unconscious. With the two thugs down, Naruto dusted off his hands and turned to Kazura with a bored look on his face. Is that all? The enraged Haruno shouted in fury, rushing at Naruto with a knife in hand, swinging wildly. Naruto smoothly caught his wrist, twisting it with ease until the knife dropped from the man's hand. Without hesitation, Naruto snatched the weapon out of the air and executed a swift sweep kick, sending Haruno tumbling to the ground. Standing over him, Naruto raised the knife high above his head. The terrified Haruno let out a shrill scream as the blade came crashing down toward his throat. Thunk. The blade lodged itself deep into the dirt, just inches from the Haruno's neck. Naruto clicked his tongue in disgust as he saw the small puddle forming around the fainted man's legs. Pathetic, he muttered, standing up and continuing on his way. As he walked past the unconscious figures of the three men, the villagers had ceased their whispers and now kept their distance from him. Naruto couldn't help but smirk. They'll soon realize I'm not going to stand for their abuse anymore, he thought to himself. Kyubai's voice echoed in his mind, amused by her host's growth. You're becoming a true Urita, Naruto. A warrior who doesn't let others push him around. And you're starting to show the traits of a strong mate. Her grin, almost playful, spread across her face. Naruto soon reached the Sumaiso shop, a modest red building with minimal decoration. The only sign of its purpose was a simple red sign hanging above the door, reading Sumaiso in deep red letters, with the kunao and shuriken replacing the I. The simple exterior was part of the owner's strategy to attract only the serious, keeping away the civilians who desired flash-over function. The Sumaiso family specialized in high-quality ninja weapons, tools, and training scrolls. All members of the Sumaiso family were skilled blacksmiths and warriors, fiercely protective of their craftsmanship. They had a strict policy of only selling to real shinobi, serious academy students, and the like. There was a grim story of Tenten's father, Tsuchi Sumaiso, who had nearly beaten a shinobi to death after the man tried using a weapon from the shop against Naruto. The memory made Naruto smile as he entered. Inside, a woman stood at the counter. She looked up and recognized Naruto, smiling warmly. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Are you here to see Tenten? She asked. Naruto nodded, grinning back at her. Yes, and I need to do some shopping. I've had a sudden growth spurt, so I'm in need of new clothes. I've also picked up a few weapons and want to buy some training scrolls for them, he said, motioning to his new bow and the small rod attached to his belt. Ho, Tenten's mother, gave a knowing nod. Tenten's upstairs, preparing for her new team. She'll help you with your shopping. But before that, I wanted to mention that I heard about you missing the exams. Tenten was really upset when she found out you two wouldn't be on the same team. Naruto sighed slightly. Yeah, it's been tough, but I'll be okay. Ho gave him a soft, understanding look before her expression turned slightly more concerned. I also heard rumors, something about an encounter with some villagers, and that you've learned a certain secret. If you're referring to the fox, Naruto said with a small sigh, then yes, I know about it. I wanted to thank both you and your husband for always treating me like a person, despite my condition. Ho waved her hand dismissively. It's nothing. The fox is part of you, and anyone who can't accept that is a fool, she said. After a brief pause, she asked, so, are you going to tell Tenten? Naruto nodded. That's part of the reason I came today. Tenten and Lee are my closest friends, and I want to make sure they know. They'll understand. I hope. He trailed off, unsure of how to continue. Ho gave him a reassuring smile. They will. Don't worry. She then turned to go upstairs, calling for Tenten. Naruto waited patiently, his enhanced senses catching the sound of Ho speaking briefly to her daughter, followed by the hurried footsteps of Tenten coming downstairs. When Tenten reached the bottom of the stairs, she froze, her eyes widening at the sight of the changes in Naruto. Naruto took the opportunity to observe his friend. Tenten was only slightly shorter than Naruto before his transformation, standing around 5 feet 5 inches, but she kept her body in excellent shape, and she was very pretty, at least in Naruto's eyes. Her deep brown eyes, soft features, and her brown hair, styled in two buns on top of her head, were all familiar to him. She wore a pink sleeveless Chinese-style shirt, paired with deep blue shinobi pants, and across her back were several scrolls, each containing the weapons she was skilled in using. Naruto noted the leaf headband now worn proudly across her forehead. Naruto couldn't help but admire how beautiful she had become, though he'd never admit it aloud. He had a soft spot for her, but he wouldn't risk their friendship by pursuing anything more. Tenten finally spoke after staring at him in shock. "Naruto? Is that really you?" she asked, still trying to process the change. Naruto flashed her a grin, his trademark foxy smile. "The one and only, Tenchan. Do I really look that different?" Tenten couldn't help but grin at her friend's typical, carefree demeanor before she walked over and gave him a spontaneous hug. Both of them froze, a little caught off guard by the gesture. Tenten's face flushed with a light pink hue as she quickly added, I mean, Lee and I were so worried when I heard about what happened with those former instructors and you being hospitalized. What exactly happened?" Her concern was evident, now overtaking the blush she had from her earlier comment. Naruto gave a small, reassuring smile. "I promise I'll explain everything later, after we meet with Guy-sensei and Lee. By the way, who's your third teammate?" he asked with curiosity. A subtle frown appeared on Tenten's face. "Niji Hyuga," she replied, a bit reluctantly. She had been hoping to be placed on a team with Naruto, especially after the way he'd helped her back at the academy when they first met. Over time, she had developed feelings for the upbeat, determined blonde, and she had been looking forward to testing how strong those feelings were if they worked together. Naruto caught on to her mood and nodded in understanding. Niji Hyuga had been the standout of their graduating class, and his arrogance was second to none. The guy always talked about fate as though it ruled everything, often putting down Naruto and Lee, claiming they would never amount to anything no matter how hard they tried. It was one of the reasons Naruto disliked Niji on sight. He didn't believe in fate, especially not the kind that tried to dictate his future. Some of his favorite memories from that year revolved around pranking the insufferable Hyuga. Ouch. You really got the short end of the stick, huh? Do you have a team meeting today? Naruto asked sympathetically. Yeah, in about 4 hours, at the usual training ground, Tenten confirmed. Great, that gives us about an hour before Guy and Lee show up for their youthful warm-up session, Naruto said, a grin spreading across his face. Tenten, too, shared the smile as they both knew well that Guy and Lee had a habit of arriving long before the official training began. In the meantime, would you mind helping me pick out some new clothes and equipment? I could really use your advice. Finally ditching those dreadful orange jumpsuits. Tenten teased, clearly relieved. She had long disliked those outfits and even offered to buy Naruto some new clothes herself, but he always insisted on waiting until after graduation for a change. Yeah, they just don't fit anymore, and I'm tired of looking like a fool, Naruto agreed. He paused before adding, I also need some help picking up a couple of new training scrolls. I've recently come into possession of a few new pieces of gear I want to master. He gestured toward the bow in the rod on his back. Tenten raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Finally getting serious? What's with that rod, though? I've never seen anything like it. Naruto grinned and began showing off the weapon's many functions and capabilities. Tenten was thoroughly impressed, asking if she could give it a try. Naruto handed it over without hesitation. As she took a few swings, practicing with the blade, she couldn't help but be in awe of its design. It was flawless, sharp crescent blades, a sturdy yet light shaft, and a handle that seemed custom-made to fit perfectly into any hand. After experimenting with the weapon, she was even more convinced of its perfection. This weapon is a work of art, Tenten marveled as she reluctantly handed it back to Naruto, who nodded in agreement. I felt the same way the first time I held it. Do you know of any scrolls that could help me master it? Naruto asked. Tenten thought for a moment, then her eyes brightened as she had an idea. This is definitely a unique weapon, but there are a few others that share similar aspects. There's the Logitane, the double-bladed yari, and the monk's spade. She led him to a wall filled with pole arms. The Logitane had the same crescent-shaped blades, while the double-bladed yari had a broad, double-edged spearhead. The monk's spade, though, was different. One end had a crescent blade, while the other featured a flattened bell-shaped blade, perfect for precision strikes. Naruto quickly grasped the function of each weapon. He noticed how the crescent head could be used for sweeping strikes, while the bell blade offered a more focused, precise cut. After considering the options, Tenten added, "I think you should study all three weapons. We have scrolls for each, and they'll teach you how to use their separate parts." Naruto nodded, agreeing that mastering all three forms would be a challenge, but he was no stranger to hard work. "Sounds like a good plan. Now, I just need to find some new clothes," he said, ready to move on to the next task. Tenten led him to the clothing section of the shop, and they spent the next hour sorting through outfits. After trying on several options, Naruto finally made his decision. He wanted to incorporate aspects of his sensei's styles into his new look. He chose a pair of khaki pants, a deep green shirt, and dark shinobi sandals. He also picked out a tan overcoat similar to Anko's, orange bracers like Guy's leg warmers, and some bandages for his arms and legs like Iruka-sensei wore. When Naruto came out of the changing room, Tenten whistled, impressed by how the new look suited him. It gave him a rugged, wild appearance that she thought was perfect for his personality. With his new outfit set, Naruto grabbed several more sets of the same clothes, as well as the 5 scrolls Tenten had picked out for him. 2 were about Kyoto, one focused on sniping and the other on archery techniques. The remaining 3 were introductory scrolls on the weapons Tenten had shown him. Each of the scrolls included a jutsu designed to combine with the respective weapon. Naruto paid for the gear, though Ho insisted on giving him the clothes as an early birthday gift. With everything in hand, the 2 shinobi made their way to Training Ground 24 to meet up with Guy and Lee. Naruto and Tenten made their way to the training ground shortly after. It was a typical training area in Konoha, a mix of forest and open fields. Near the southern edge, a small lake glistened, while in the center, several practice dummies were being ruthlessly attacked by an unexpected duo. The taller of the 2 was a well-built man, about 6 feet 1 inch, with dark black hair styled in a bowl cut, enormous eyebrows, chiseled features, and a grin that revealed sharp teeth. He wore a full-body green bodysuit, a standard jounin vest, blue ninja sandals, orange leg warmers, and a leaf headband tied around his waist. The other figure, slightly shorter at 5 feet 8 inches, had features strikingly similar to the larger one, suggesting a close bond. He wore wrist and forearm bandages and a simple ninja vest, showing no specific rank. These 2 individuals were Mato Guy and Rock Lee. Upon spotting Tenten, they turned their attention to her and immediately recognized Naruto walking beside her. Lee dashed over, greeting his rival with excitement. "Naruto, it's great to see you. It seems your fiery passion has led to such an incredible transformation," he yelled, striking his usual enthusiastic pose, flashing a wide grin. "Yes, indeed, my youthful student. Your fellow youthful student must certainly have entered an even more youthful chapter in his life," Guy exclaimed with equal enthusiasm. Both Naruto and Tenten exchanged a glance, used to the duo's exuberance. They had gotten accustomed to the constant talk about youth, but it still had a way of grating on their nerves. "Good to see you both as well," Naruto said, his tone shifting to something more serious. "I wanted to tell you what happened to me before anyone else, since I trust you 3, plus Anko and Iruka-sensei. But first, I need to share an important secret with both Lee and Tenten, though I think Guy-sensei already knows it," Naruto said, his expression calm but serious as he glanced at Guy. Guy nodded, understanding that Naruto was about to reveal the truth behind the 9 tails. He had already heard rumors around the village. He was proud of his student for trusting his friends with this secret, and was confident they would accept him for who he truly was. Lee and Tenten were visibly puzzled by Naruto's change in demeanor, and both were curious about the serious revelation to come. Naruto turned to them and explained, "This secret is classified as an S-class village secret. I need both of you to swear that you won't tell anyone. If anyone besides me discloses it, the punishment is execution. Do you both understand?" Surprised by the gravity of the situation, both Lee and Tenten nodded, signaling their understanding. With a steadying breath, Naruto gathered his courage. It was now or never. You see, 15 years ago, when the Kyuubi attacked the village. He proceeded to tell them the truth, how the fox demon had been sealed inside him at birth. Tenten and Lee were stunned by the revelation, struggling to process it. Tenten spoke first, her voice trembling slightly. So, that's why you've always been. She paused, unsure how to finish the thought. Naruto nodded solemnly. Yeah, but now you know the truth. I get it if you don't want to be around me anymore. His sentence trailed off as Tenten suddenly embraced him. Don't say that. You're you, and the fox is the fox. We'll never turn our back on you for something so ridiculous, she said softly, holding him tightly. Lee added, Tenten's right, Naruto. We're your friends no matter what. Anyone who judges you based on the fox is utterly unyouthful. He placed a reassuring hand on his friend's shoulder. Naruto felt a wave of relief as he returned Tenten's hug, whispering, thank you. Tenten let go, smiling warmly at him. Guy, who had been quietly observing, couldn't help but feel proud of his students. He wished that they could have formed a team together, as they would have been an incredible combat unit. Lee could focus on close-range fighting, Tenten could cover mid to long range with her weapons, and Naruto, with his diverse skill set, could support both close and long-range combat. Guy had even tried to convince the Hokage to let Naruto make up his test so he could join this ideal team. However, the Hokage had insisted on not showing favoritism and forced Naruto to accept the Hyuga as his teammate, which Guy understood but didn't agree with. Now that that's out of the way, I want to tell you about the attack I experienced, Naruto began again, his serious tone catching everyone's attention. He told them about Mizuki's betrayal and the role of the other ex-Chuunin, which angered everyone. Then he explained the first change in his encounter with Luna and the Kyuubi, leaving them all stunned. He also asked Guy not to tell the Hokage unless absolutely necessary, to which Guy agreed, trusting his judgment. As Naruto finished explaining his new bloodline and the abilities it gave him, the others were in awe. YOSH! Lee shouted enthusiastically, this new power of yours is a true reflection of your fiery spirit, my friend. I can't wait to test it in a sparring match. Naruto and Tenten reached the training grounds shortly after. It was a typical Konoha training area, with a balance of forest and open land. A small lake sat on the southern edge, and numerous training dummies were scattered around the center, currently being savagely attacked by two figures. The taller of the two was a well-built man standing about 6'1", with dark hair styled in a bowl cut. His prominent eyebrows and chiseled features gave him an intense appearance, and he wore a wide grin. His attire consisted of a full-body green suit, the usual Jounin vest, blue sandals, orange leg warmers, and a leaf headband tied around his waist. The second figure was a shorter version of the first, standing at about 5 feet 8 inches with softer features. He was wrapped in bandages around his wrists and forearms and wore a standard ninja vest, free of rank markings. These two were Mato Guy and Rock Lee. Both Guy and Lee turned to see Naruto and Tenten approach, recognizing Tenten instantly, but only after a moment did they realize it was Naruto walking beside her. Lee rushed forward and greeted his friend with enthusiasm, Naruto. It's great to see you, my rival. Looks like your fire of youth has caused a transformation in your body. Lee beamed, striking a proud pose with his characteristic grin. Indeed, my youthful pupil, your fellow student's youthfulness is surely ascending to a new level. Guy added loudly, matching Lee's energy. Naruto and Tenten sighed in unison, accustomed to Guy and Lee's boisterous love for the word youthful. It's good to see you both, Naruto replied, then quickly grew serious. I wanted to share something with you three first because I trust you the most, along with Anko and Iruka-sensei. But first, there's a very important secret that I need to tell you both, Lee and Tenten, but I believe Guy-sensei already knows it, Naruto said, looking calmly yet seriously at Guy. Guy nodded. He'd heard from the village about Naruto's newfound knowledge of the fox sealed inside him, and he guessed that was the secret Naruto wanted to share with Lee and Tenten. Guy was proud that Naruto trusted his friends with such a personal revelation. Lee and Tenten, sensing the gravity of the moment, waited quietly as Naruto turned to them. This secret is an S-class village secret, and I need both of you to swear that you will not reveal it to anyone. The third Hokage's law states that anyone who discloses it will be executed. Do you both understand? Naruto asked seriously. Lee and Tenten, surprised by the secrecy, nodded solemnly in agreement. Naruto took a deep breath, pushing aside his nerves. Now was the time. 15 years ago, when the Kyuubi attacked the village, Naruto began, explaining everything about how the fox had been sealed inside him at birth. Tenten and Lee were stunned as they learned the truth of Naruto's life. Tenten hesitated before speaking softly, "So, that's why you were," she trailed off. Naruto nodded in response and continued, "Now that you both know, I'll understand if you don't want to be around me anymore." Before he could finish, Tenten hugged him tightly. "Don't be ridiculous. You're you, and the fox is the fox. We would never leave you because of that," she said, her voice muffled against his shoulder. Lee joined in, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Tenten is right. Anyone who can't look past the fox is a true example of unyouthfulness, Lee declared. Naruto smiled and returned Tenten's embrace, whispering, "Thank you." The two let go, and Guy, proud of his students, wished they had been assigned as a team together. He believed they would have been a perfect combat trio, Lee excelling at close range, Tenten with her long-range weapons, and Naruto acting as the versatile support, switching between taijutsu and ninjutsu. Guy had even complained to the Hokage about how Naruto had missed his test due to the fox's interference, but Sarutobi refused to make exceptions, forcing a Hyuga to join Naruto's team instead. Guy was certain that the Hyuga's arrogance would negatively impact their teamwork, but he hoped Naruto would find his way nonetheless. "Now that that's out of the way, I wanted to explain what happened when I was attacked," Naruto resumed, his friends listening intently as he detailed the attack by Mizuki and his encounter with the Kyuubi. He also shared the experience of his first transformation and the arrival of Luna. When he mentioned the changes he had undergone in his new bloodline, his friends were in awe. "Yosh!" Lee shouted with excitement. "Your new bloodline is truly the embodiment of your fiery spirit, my friend. I can't wait to test it in a sparring match." Type: Water Hydrana. Rank: Greater Gathlings. Nature: Corrupted Water Spirit. Greater Gatling, does that mean I can defeat her, Kyuubi? Asked the blonde to his guide. "Yeah, pup, you can take her. I know her kind, they're a common type of elemental in the shadow, and they're on the lower end of the power spectrum in their category," the fox confirmed. Naruto nodded before asking, "You've mentioned corrupted spirits before, but I don't fully understand what they are. I'll explain later, dodge now," shouted the Kyuubi as her container swiftly avoided another lash from the Hydrana's whip-like arms. The blonde rolled to his feet, kunao in hand. He didn't draw Wolf's Fang yet because he hadn't practiced with it. Anko's lessons echoed in his mind, "Don't get arrogant and use a weapon you're not skilled with. In situations like that, the weapon becomes more of a hindrance than a help." "Filthy half-breed," hissed the water Hydrana, its voice echoing from nowhere. "I'll enjoy peeling the flesh from your bones." The spirit laughed maniacally as she continued to strike at the blonde with both tentacles. The boy dodged both attacks with a quick jump, but the left tentacle managed to tear his shirt and leave a light gash on his side. His combined Uritha and Kyuubi healing immediately healed the minor wound as he threw his kunao before performing a series of hand seals. "Kunao Cage Bunshin!" The blonde shouted as the single kunao split into a dozen. The serpentine spirit dodged most of them with a fluid movement, but two struck her tail. The spirit let out a sharp hiss of pain, but it seemed to only fuel her aggression. Her face rippled, and from it, she fired a high-pressure stream of water at Naruto. Naruto leapt to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast that carved a deep trench in the earth. Since physical attacks don't seem to faze her, let's see how she handles elemental jutsu. He grinned evilly. The blonde then charged forward, rapidly going through hand seals and shouting, lightning style, wave current. As he closed the gap, he slammed his fists together before quickly pulling them apart, sending arcs of lightning between them. The currents lashed out, spreading towards the Hydrana. The spirit shrieked as the wave of electricity struck, causing it to quiver before desperately whipping her arms at Naruto. One strike missed, but the other caught him on his right shoulder. Grimacing in pain but unfazed, Naruto pressed forward, closing the distance. He formed more hand seals and shouted, wind style, blasting pressure palm. He thrust his glowing palm into the creature's chest. A blast of concentrated wind chakra propelled the creature backward, slamming it into the ground. The spirit coughed weakly before collapsing into a puddle of water. Naruto exhaled in relief and grinned. Easy win. Don't get cocky, cub, Huabai's voice echoed in his mind. Those things are barely stronger than lesser gafflings, and that one was made weak by its madness. You're going to need to get much stronger if you want to survive in the shadow. Naruto nodded. He had learned the hard way from Anko, Guy, and Iruka that overconfidence could be deadly. Huabai, I asked before, but could you explain what you mean by corrupted spirits? Naruto asked with curiosity. Huabai sighed, then responded, corrupted spirits are those who've lost touch with their true nature. Spirits are intrinsically tied to their essence, it's a part of their soul. If they stray from it, they can go mad or become monstrous. That's the worst fear for any wise spirit. How do spirits become corrupted? It can happen in a few ways, Huabai explained. For one, if the focus of their nature is destroyed or damaged, they can fall off course. Another is prolonged exposure to negative emotions or outside influences that taint their essence. The last is when the spirit becomes power-hungry and intentionally corrupts itself to grow stronger. Naruto processed the information. He could see how dangerous these corrupted spirits could be. As he was lost in thought, he noticed a soft glow coming from one of his pouches. Upon opening it, he saw that one of the spirit catcher gems had changed. Instead of its usual silver sheen, it now glowed a deep sea blue with the kanji for water etched into its center in a dark blue shade. It looks like you've captured your first spirit, Naruto-kun, Huabai observed. Water spirits are useful in crafting items that aid in healing, fluidity, and of course, water manipulation. This gem will come in handy. Naruto continued to examine the stone for a moment before stowing it in another pouch. He then approached the spring cautiously, alert for any signs of other water hydrangeas or similar spirits. After sniffing the air and sensing no other nearby creatures with the same spiritual energy, he slowly approached the pond. The energy radiating from it felt calming yet invigorating, like stepping into a warm mist after a long day. As Naruto waded into the water, he felt a surge of energy, similar to the rush he had experienced during his first transformation but more tranquil and grounding. Reaching the center of the pond, he sat down in a meditative posture, letting the water come up to his shoulders as he focused on breathing deeply. As he inhaled, a thin blue mist seemed to rise from the water, flowing into his body with each breath. His energy was replenishing, and it felt more profound than any other restoration he had experienced before. When he finally felt he had absorbed enough, he stood up and stepped out of the spring. A sense of completeness washed over him, like an important need had been satisfied. Huabai's voice echoed in his mind, that's the sensation of your essence being fully restored. After the first change, your reserves were partially full. Now, you're running on a full tank. So, how does it feel? Naruto paused for a moment, searching for the right words before smiling and answering, complete. Huabai nodded in approval, knowing that was the most accurate way the boy could describe it. Now that you've replenished your energy, let's head home, Huabai suggested. We need to go over the scrolls you've found and take a closer look at that book of rites. Some of those rituals could be useful. Naruto agreed and used a simple water jutsu to dry off before heading back. Later that evening, Naruto stood in front of his kitchen table, his new clothes spread out in front of him and a kunao in his hand. The book of rites was resting on the nearby countertop. Following Huabai's advice, Naruto had shifted into his Dula form, a more primal state that helped him tap into natural energy more easily. The transformation had altered his body in several ways. He had grown taller, his hair had thickened, and his features had become more bestial. Now standing around 6 feet 5 inches, his physique was stronger, and his ears were pointed, giving him an almost feral appearance. Naruto focused intently as he used the kunao to draw a small circle on a piece of clothing, smearing his blood onto the blade. Chanting softly in the first tongue, he activated the ritual. Immediately, the clothing absorbed the blood, and the fabric was refreshed and clean. He repeated the process for each piece of clothing until all of them were marked, ensuring that they would adapt to his shape-shifting abilities. That ritual, the rite of dedication, allows you to bless your clothes so that they grow with you or merge with your body when you transform, Huabai explained. Naruto nodded, satisfied with the results. After completing the ritual, he shifted back into his Hisha form, the more human-like state, and put his newly marked clothing away. He then sat on the couch, intending to study the Book of Rites further, but was interrupted by a knock at the door. Curious, Naruto stood and checked the peephole. A familiar face appeared, causing him to smile as he opened the door. "Hey, Itari-chan. What brings you by today?" Itari stepped in, her presence as striking as ever. At 21, she stood about 5 feet 8 inches with a tall, statuesque build. Her pale skin contrasted with her raven black hair, which fell neatly to her shoulders. Her toned physique and strong limbs revealed the intensity of her training. Itari's features were sharp yet gentle, and her eyes, deep and dark, were warm and inviting. She was beautiful, a fact Naruto had pointed out more than once, causing her to blush and call him a baka with a playful tap on the head. Itari smiled as she greeted the young man. Over the years she had spent watching over him in her role within Umbu, she had developed feelings for the boy. Initially, she had admired him for the strength he demonstrated despite the heavy burdens he carried, burdens that would have broken a typical person. Despite enduring pain and hatred from the villagers, he pushed forward, never allowing the darkness to overtake him. To Itari, this strength alone earned her respect, but over time, her feelings for him had grown deeper. As she spent more time with him, their conversations helped her understand him better. She could see the deep scars the isolation had left on his soul, yet she admired how he refused to let them define him. 2 years ago, something happened that brought her feelings to the surface. During one of her guard shifts, someone had tried to attack her, but Naruto had intervened, putting himself in harm's way to protect her. The attacker, a ninja whose family had been killed by the Ninetales, intended to make Naruto suffer by forcing him to watch someone dear to him die. Itari swiftly dealt with the attacker and rushed Naruto to the hospital, but as she carried him, she realized something profound: she was desperate to keep him alive. Once Naruto was out of danger, she felt as though a light had returned to her world. Over the following days, she reflected on her emotions and realized it wasn't gratitude or mere affection, it was love. For the next year, she struggled to deny it, but when she saw Naruto growing closer to Tenten, jealousy made her feelings undeniable. Now, with her emotions laid bare, Itari was unsure how to express them to Naruto. "I'm fine, Naruto-kun." "Annoyed, but fine," Itari said with a smile, noticing his inquisitive gaze. "Father's been trying to push me into a marriage contract with one of the clan members. He thinks I need to start acting like a proper Uchiha woman." She spat the words with disdain. To the Uchiha clan, a woman's role was to bear children to strengthen the clan's bloodline and reputation. Itari loathed this narrow view, and while her mother might accept it, she had no intention of following the same path. The only man she truly cared for stood before her, and he wasn't an Uchiha. Naruto growled in anger at the mention of her father's plan. "The old man is just a sexist jerk," he muttered, his voice filled with irritation. Itari smiled at this. "Agreed," she said before continuing, "but enough about my rotten family. I came by to check on you, my favorite blonde. I heard you were just released from the hospital." Her smile softened, turning serious. "And I've heard you've uncovered a big secret. You've been defending yourself in a new way, haven't you? If you're talking about the Kyuubi, then yes, I know. It's sealed inside me. As for my new attitude, I just won't let anyone hurt me for something that isn't my fault anymore," Naruto replied firmly. "Good to hear," Itari said, smiling. "And I'm sorry for not telling you sooner, but..." She started to explain before Naruto cut her off. "I get it, Itari-chan. The old man's law prohibited you from saying anything. But I've already made my feelings clear to him," Naruto finished irritably. Itari smirked. "That must explain why Hokage-sama looked so down today," she mused, remembering her earlier meeting with the old man. "I hope you'll forgive him eventually. Despite the foolishness, he was trying to protect you." "I will. In time," Naruto said solemnly, before a mischievous grin crossed his face. "But the old man is going to pay for it, dearly." Itari chuckled. Still the trickster, she remarked. Hey, I am who I am, Naruto replied cheekily. By the way, how's Shisui doing? Sadly, he's starting to follow the rest of the clan's path, Itari replied with a sigh. I've been trying to keep him grounded, but the clan is offering him something he really wants. Naruto nodded, never having been fond of Shisui, but tolerating him for Itari's sake. You won't believe what happened after the attack, Naruto said, launching into the tale of everything he had shared with Team Guy. Itari listened, astonished by his newfound abilities. The two continued chatting for a couple of hours, but as the time grew late, Itari realized it was time to leave. Though part of her wanted to ask if she could stay the night, she shook off the thought. With a soft sigh, she bid Naruto good night and wished him luck with his upcoming training. Naruto returned the sentiments, waving her off before heading to bed, ready for the next step in his journey toward the shadow. A month passed quickly for Naruto as he dedicated himself to mastering his newfound powers. His days fell into a steady rhythm. He woke up with the sunrise every morning, followed by a workout tailored to his enhanced physical abilities. Afterward, he'd check his gear before heading off to his training location, where he spent the next 10 hours honing his skills. His first hour was dedicated to each of his various forms, practicing transitions between them and strengthening his understanding of their unique advantages. With the help of shadow clones, he practiced combat in taijutsu, constantly improving his control. Naruto found that he could control his Gaara form by channeling chakra throughout his body. Maintaining this form for extended periods was draining, even with his reserves, but it proved useful in tight situations. The best part was that he could keep his rage in check, avoiding the uncontrollable anger that once plagued him. The next 3 hours were spent practicing with Wolf's Fang in its various forms and using moonlight. For his Kyudo training, he set up multiple targets and practiced dodging while firing, working on both accuracy and mobility. His precision was exceptional at regular ranges, though he still needed to improve his sniping skills. Training with Wolf's Fang was also progressing well, as he had mastered the basic forms of each weapon and was getting better at switching between them. He found the weapon more suited to dealing with large groups of enemies than for one-on-one duels. The remaining 2 hours were dedicated to his jutsu and spirit charms. Naruto created 3 new jutsu with his Dolo and Daura forms, Wolf Style, Piercing Claws, Wolf Style, Crashing Hell, and Wolf Style, Ripping Talons. Kyuubi had also taught him a special fire jutsu, Fire Style, Fox Fire, which Naruto picked up quickly despite lacking a natural affinity for fire. Kyuubi explained that it was a kitsune technique, and since he was now part kitsune, he could learn it easily. As for the charms, Naruto quickly mastered the basic training to create each effect. He soon learned how to use them more efficiently and asked Kyuubi about developing stronger charms. She explained that his current techniques were part of something called charm trees. These trees grew stronger over time, and as Naruto mastered the techniques, new, more powerful ones would emerge. Sometimes these new techniques would come to him during sleep, or at random moments during his day. This constant growth in power kept Naruto eager to continue his training, knowing his abilities would only increase the more he practiced. After his training sessions, he spent the final few hours of the day studying his various scrolls and practicing his chakra control before going to bed. Despite his rigorous schedule, Naruto had encountered a few more hostile villagers. Many of these attacks were led by Haruno, and every time they ended with the attackers on the ground, bruised and beaten. Naruto had even started adding some subtle forms of retaliation, inspired by his mentor Anko, though he was careful not to leave any evidence. It was a relief when Itari informed him that the Hokage had warned all shinobi to stay away from him under threat of immediate execution, causing a stir among the civilian council, who had no power to intervene. In addition to these encounters, Naruto had several more meaningful interactions. He met with Anko and Iruka, both of whom expressed their sympathy for his past struggles. When Naruto explained his shift in mindset and how he now dealt with the villagers, Anko was proud of him for embracing his darker side and praised his creativity in handling those who wronged him. Iruka, while less enthusiastic about the sadistic approach, understood the necessity of Naruto defending himself. When they asked about his change, Naruto simply stated, "I'm not going to be punished for something I didn't do just to make a bunch of idiots feel better about their own losses." Naruto made an effort to meet up with his friends from Team Guy once a week, where he trained with Tenten using moonlight and sparred with Lee in his Dula form. He kept his Gaara form as a secret, reserved for emergencies, preferring to surprise his opponents when the time came. As for his training with the rites, Naruto had used several more since the night he marked his clothing. The first was the territory seal. This rite branded an object or location as the property of the Uritha for all spirits to recognize. Naruto placed the mark on his apartment and the area he trained in. The ritual was simple. He smeared his blood onto the object or entrance, marking it with the symbol of his auspicious moon while quietly chanting. Next, there was the touchstone creation ritual, which allowed him to create storage devices for essence, so he could recharge his energy when no locus was nearby. Naruto found this ritual invaluable and created a handful of touchstones for use during missions. These were crafted from leather, resembling small water skins with smooth stones from the locus sewn into the bottom. The ritual was straightforward. Naruto would sit at the center of the locus, meditating while using his will to guide the essence into the stones. To recharge them, he simply left them within the locus for a few hours before retrieving them. Lastly, he practiced the rite of spirit branding, which marked the spirits in the shadow with symbols representing Naruto's achievements. The ritual involved using his claws to carve the first tongue symbols of the 5 great virtues of Uritha: purity, honor, glory, wisdom, and cunning into his body. Each virtue glowed on his skin. Purity, symbolizing his commitment to the oath of the moon, glowed faintly. Honor, representing his adherence to his word, was the brightest. Glory, denoting his pride and strength as a warrior, was also vibrant. Wisdom, reflecting his understanding of the spirit world, shone less intensely, and cunning, symbolizing his adaptability, was surprisingly bright. In total, it had been a rewarding and fulfilling month. Both Naruto and Kyuubi felt he was ready for the shadow. After saying his goodbyes to his friends and senseis, he was now ready to inform the Hokage about his departure. At the Hokage Tower, Naruto walked into the Hokage's office to find the old man buried under an endless pile of paperwork. Naruto had already discovered the secret to defeating the evil task of paperwork but had chosen to keep it to himself for now, allowing the Hokage to work for his forgiveness. As he walked past the secretary, who initially refused him entry, Naruto had given her 2 choices: announce him through the speaker or face him in person after he'd thrown her through the door. The secretary, now fully aware of Naruto's change in demeanor, quickly opted for the first choice. The third Hokage glanced up from his work and smiled at the boy, noting the changes in his attitude. While he wished Naruto would address things more peacefully, he respected the young man's decision to defend himself. As long as Naruto didn't start attacking villagers first, the Hokage would support him. Despite protests from the civilian council, the Hokage made it clear that anyone bothering Naruto would face severe consequences. "Hello, Naruto. I like the new look," the Hokage greeted him warmly. "Thanks, old man," Naruto replied casually, using the term as a reminder that while he had forgiven the Hokage, trust had not yet been fully restored. The Hokage chuckled. "So, I've got some good news. Given your new abilities, we could convince the council to let you start your own clan." Naruto shook his head. "Hokage-san, you're the village leader, and the council is just there to advise you. If you want to let me start a clan, it's your decision, not theirs. You're the legendary Hiruzen, god of shinobi. It's time you acted like it. If you can't maintain control, maybe it's time to hand over the hat." The Hokage looked somewhat guilty. Naruto was right. He had been acting like a figurehead, not the true leader of the village. It was time to take charge again. "You're right, Naruto. It's time I remind the council who's in charge here." Naruto nodded, satisfied with the response. "Anyway, we can talk about the clan when I get back. I just wanted to give you a heads up that I'm heading to the shadow for training." The Hokage nodded, recalling Naruto's earlier explanation about the spiritual realm. "How long will you be gone?" he asked. "About 2 months, give or take. I should return about a week before the academy resumes, though I might drop in from time to gather some supplies," the blonde replied, receiving a nod from the elderly leader. "Then I wish you the best of luck, my boy," the Hokage said, offering a farewell. "Thanks, old man," the blonde responded with a grin before heading out. XXXX. Naruto stood ready to leave, his pack secured with the essentials for his 2-month stay in the shadow. He had his touchstones hanging from his belt, though Kyuubi had clarified that these were only a precaution, as his essence would regenerate much faster in the shadow. Over the past month, he'd used the spirit catcher pouch numerous times to gather supplies for his journey, now carrying 3 full pouches. His spear and bow were also ready, secured at his side. He paused for a moment, inhaling the air around him before beginning his journey. He'd already checked that the local shadow was clear of spirits using the 2 worlds eye, and there was no sign of any spirits nearby. Kyuubi had warned him that shifting from the physical world into the shadow could be disorienting, sometimes violently so he'd made sure the area was safe beforehand. Standing in the center of his locus beneath a gibbous moon, he concentrated, feeling the power around him. Following Kyuubi's instructions, he forced the energy to spin, causing his body to whirl with it. After a brief flash of silver, he was gone. Shaking off the disorienting sliding sensation, as Kyuubi had called it, Naruto opened his eyes to find the world felt off. He felt like he might be sick. Kyuubi had warned him that shifting into the shadow via the locus could leave him disoriented, but this felt like stepping out of a tornado. Damn, Naruto thought, if this is how it feels through the locus, I can't imagine what it'd be like without it. Kyuubi responded, if you did it without a locus, you'd either be unconscious or vomiting right about now. She then suggested, don't worry though, with practice, it gets easier. But I'd advise against trying to shift without a locus until you are more accustomed to the sensation. Naruto agreed, realizing the discomfort would leave him vulnerable if he were to be caught in such a state during a shift. As the world finally began to stabilize around him, he cautiously opened his eyes, taking in the strange surroundings of the shadow. Naruto had used the 2 worlds eye a few times to examine this area and much of Konoha during his training. But experiencing it firsthand was a different matter entirely. Everything appeared darker and more distorted, like looking through tinted glass. However, it wasn't just the colors that felt altered, everything around him was more intense. The spring, which was clean and bright in the real world, now radiated a strange glow, its water colder than it should have been. The clearing he stood in seemed unnaturally flat, as though it was made of smooth glass, and the grass appeared to have grown another inch. The trees surrounding the clearing stood taller and more angular. The entire environment had an air of heightened primal power. It felt as though the forest was wilder, less tamed. Kyuubi then explained, this is what the shadow is, a twisted reflection of the physical world. Here, everything is amplified to its purest, most primal form. Emotion and memory impact the terrain just as much as the physical world does. The forest feels more primal because, at its core, that's what it is. A place of raw energy. She continued, a place that's calming in the real world would be as serene as a monk's garden here. Naruto nodded thoughtfully, processing the new information before asking, what now? Kyuubi paused for a moment before answering, we should head into Konoha. Spirits tend to gather in places where humans and other beings congregate, like the Hokage Tower. The leader of the village is likely the ruler of this spirit realm, so we should approach him, pay our respects, and ask for permission to use this place for spirit hunting. Sounds good to me, Naruto agreed, leaping toward the village. As Naruto approached Konoha, he began to notice the same distortion that had affected the forest. The buildings were taller and more imposing, the streets broader or narrower depending on where he stood. The shadows of the buildings stretched unnaturally long, as if they were alive, following his every move. The city itself had changed, vines and plants overtook half the buildings, while others appeared worn down and weathered. Some structures seemed twisted and monstrous, while others were in pristine condition. Kyuubi explained the changes as the result of how emotions and memories shaped the shadow. The darker parts of the city were born from painful memories, murders, beatings, and other traumatic events, twisting the structures into places of darkness. The sadder areas, meanwhile, reflected sorrow and grief. Naruto continued on, heading toward the tower while observing his surroundings. Kyuubi, he asked, where is everyone? You said this place would be full of spirits. Kyuubi responded, it is, Naruto, but remember what I told you about how spirits grow stronger. Yeah, by devouring other spirits. Exactly, Kyuubi continued, They don't just wander the streets. They stay in places where they draw power, so they don't risk becoming a meal for another spirit. Once we meet the ruler of this realm and gain their approval, we'll be able to find them. Most spirits avoid Uritha like us, but they still know we can be useful allies. She added, we can also find spirits on our own and challenge them later, but first, we must meet the head spirit. The young Uritha soon arrived at the Hokage Tower. It was a structure resembling the familiar one but with a few notable differences. It stood taller and seemed more majestic than the original, now resembling a tree more than a building. Upon entering, Naruto found himself surrounded by spirits in all forms. There were too many to describe, each with its own unique essence. Some spirits appeared as skeletons dressed in fine robes adorned with countless jewels, greed spirits. Others were like living samurai armor, symbols of honor and battle. Some resembled massive books mounted on paper-crafted bodies, spirits of knowledge. Spirits of all types moved around the room as Naruto entered. One of the suits of armor approached him and spoke, "What is your business here, Uritha?" it asked, its voice reverberating. Naruto, surprised by the spirit's awareness of his identity, stood confidently as Kyuubi spoke into his mind. Spirits can recognize your Uritha essence, as your form is a blend of spiritual power and human chakra. Now, respond to him, and remember, show respect, but do not show fear. Naruto nodded and returned the armored spirit's gaze. I've come to pay my respects to the ruler of this domain, and I request permission to seek gifts within his realm, he answered, his tone calm and respectful. Where may I find him? Before the armored spirit could respond, a voice rang out from the distance, I am here, child of the Uritha. I accept your greeting and grant you leave to seek your gifts within my realm, but first, there is something I must discuss with you. The doors to the Hokage's office creaked open, and from within stepped one of the most terrifying creatures Naruto had ever seen. Towering at over 20 feet, it wore a grand white robe and had light purple skin. Its hair was bone white, and its face was adorned with the iconic mask of a Hanaya, its eyes dark and devoid of whites, and its mouth filled with yellow fangs. Naruto's crescent glasses instantly activated and displayed the following information. Title, Shinigami, Devourer of Souls. Rank, Greater Incarna. Nature, Spirit of Death. Naruto's eyes widened. This was the Shinigami, the Death God, and yet only a Greater Incarna rank. Out of instinct, Naruto lowered himself into a deep bow. What would you have of me, Shinigami-sama? He asked respectfully. The Shinigami smiled, calm yourself, child. I have two things for you. First, as an acknowledgement for my role in the misfortune of your life, I offer you a gift. The first of the gifts along the path of death. The Shinigami reached out and lightly touched Naruto's forehead with a clawed finger. A wave of dizziness overwhelmed the boy, but soon a new gift tree took root in his mind. He gained the first of the ending gifts, Fear of Death. Fear of Death, Level 1 of the ending gift tree. This charm allows the wielder to discern how their target fears death, by visualizing the manner of death they most dread. It aids in intimidation, though it is mentally taxing and requires immense focus. Naruto shook his head to clear the dizziness that came with receiving a spirit gift. He bowed once more to the Shinigami, thank you for the gift, Shinigami-sama. But I must ask, what role did you play in shaping my life? He questioned. The Shinigami met his gaze, it was through my summoning that the seal on your belly was formed. If your father had not summoned me, he could not have sealed the Kyuubi within you. Naruto stood silent for a moment, processing the revelation. His thoughts raced. Wait. So, my father summoned you to seal the Kyuubi inside me, which means... His voice trailed off as he looked back at the Shinigami, whose gaze remained calm and unchanging. I'm the son of the fourth Hokage? My own father cursed me with this fate. The Shinigami gave a solemn nod. Naruto's mind reeled. Would you excuse me for a moment? He asked, his voice strained. The Shinigami nodded in approval, and the blonde stormed out of the tower. Moments later, an anguished roar echoed across the sky, curse you, father. The howl reverberated through the structure before fading. After a brief pause, Naruto returned to the tower. He bowed to the Shinigami once more and said, thank you. I needed that release. Now, You mentioned a second matter. The Shinigami nodded again. Indeed. Spirits have arrived here following your transformation, seeking an audience with you. They await you on the stone face of your father's monument. They've asked that I not reveal their identities, but they are ancient allies of your people. One of these spirits I know well. Naruto bowed once more and thanked the Shinigami. Then, he made his way toward the Hokage monument, wondering who these ancient spirits might be and what they had to say. Naruto soon arrived at the location the Shinigami had indicated and stood waiting for the spirits he had mentioned to arrive. As Naruto waited, he cast a glance downward at the face of his father. How could a man curse his own son to a life of hatred like the one I've endured because of the Kyuubi? Naruto wondered, his thoughts turning inward. The Kyuubi, ever the voice of reason, replied softly, from what I've gathered about your father from your memories, he was a man of deep honor and nobility. He likely couldn't bring himself to ask anyone else to make the sacrifice he did if he wasn't willing to make it himself. The Kyuubi's voice carried a note of sadness. Remember what the Hokage spoke of on his deathbed, Naruto. The fourth's dying wish was for you to be seen as a hero, despite the burden you carry. But the fools in this village betrayed his wishes. If you must hate him for his misplaced trust, but not as a man who abandoned his son. Naruto mulled over the Kyuubi's words, coming to a reluctant understanding. The old man had been a fool to trust a village that would turn its back on his family, yet his father's actions had come from a place of desperation and honor. It was clear that Naruto couldn't hate the man, but his frustration still burned. I can't hate him for his decisions, but when I see him in the afterlife, I'm going to make him pay for this, Naruto thought, a bitter smile creeping across his face. The Kyuubi chuckled at his words, a playful tone in her voice. You know, Naruto, I think you're more fox than wolf. Naruto smirked, enjoying the banter, but as his mind returned to his present situation, he felt a powerful presence approaching. The scent of 5 beings filled the air, each carrying the unmistakable essence of wolves, yet there was something unique in their scent, something dark and ancient. These must be the allies the Shinigami spoke of, Naruto thought, standing tall and preparing for their arrival. Before long, 5 massive figures emerged from the surrounding forest, each one standing taller than the tallest buildings in the village. Though they all bore the form of wolves, the similarities between them ended there. The first to emerge was by far the largest. Towering at a staggering 330 feet, this wolf was covered in thick, matted brown fur that barely concealed the many scars littering his body. One eye was missing, a battle wound from a past confrontation. His presence radiated the raw power of a warrior, a beast forged by countless battles. His scent was heavy with the lingering aroma of blood and combat. Naruto's crescent glasses activated and scanned the imposing creature. Title: Fenrisur, Destroyer Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Nature: War/Wolf Spirit. Next to step into view was a wolf whose red fur resembled a coat of metal or iron. Standing at 300 feet, his body was solid, and his movements were deliberate, each step taken with purpose. His fangs and claws were not typical, but instead looked like sharpened swords, polished and lethal. Despite his fearsome appearance, there was a calmness about him, a quiet creativity, like the mind of an inventor or an artist. His scent was a mix of wolf and metal, a union of nature and industry. The crescent glasses scanned once more. Title: Sagramur, Red Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Nature: Metal/Wolf Spirit. Following him was a smaller wolf, standing at 280 feet. Her fur was jet black, with glowing white dots scattered across her body, making her resemble a piece of the night sky brought to life. Her eyes were the most striking, silver pools without irises, pupils, or whites. The aura surrounding her was one of quiet stealth and subtlety, like a master thief or ninja. Once again, Naruto's crescent glasses analyzed the spirit before him. Title: Hikayanur, Black Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Nature: Shadow/Wolf Spirit. Next was a wolf that stood at 320 feet, his white fur shining with an icy sheen. It looked as though he was perpetually covered in frost, his body shedding snow as he moved. His fangs were like icicles, and his breath chilled the air around him. His presence exuded the confidence and strength of a natural leader. His scent was a sharp winter storm mixed with the unmistakable scent of a wolf. The crescent glasses hummed to life again. Title: Isildur, Frost Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Nature: Ice/Wolf Spirit. The final wolf was the smallest of the group, standing at 270 feet, but there was no less power in his movements. His fur was a deep shade of green, blending with the forest itself, making him appear as though he were a part of the very earth. His eyes glowed with an emerald hue, and the earth itself seemed to respond to his presence. His aura radiated the strength of the earth, the steady endurance of nature itself. His scent was a mixture of earth and wolf. Once more, Naruto's crescent glasses did their work. Title: Gaetherur, Earth Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Nature: Earth/Wolf Spirit. Naruto stood before these massive beings, feeling both awe and trepidation as he prepared to face whatever was to come. He could sense that these creatures were far beyond anything he had encountered, and he wondered what they might ask of him or offer in exchange for their aid. But one thing was certain: his journey was about to take an even darker and more powerful turn. Title: Skolizur, Winter Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Character: Weather/Wolf Spirit. The final wolf to emerge was unlike any Naruto had ever encountered. She stood towering at about 300 feet tall, like her siblings, but then something unique happened. Instead of fur, she was cloaked in a pale, misty gray shroud, translucent in parts, and beneath it lay the skeletal frame of a massive wolf. Her eyes were hollow black pits, glowing faintly with a dim red hue. She emitted an aura of serene yet terrifying silence, feeling as though death itself had arrived. The scent she carried was that of grave soil mixed with mist, only a faint trace of wolf scent remaining. Naruto's glasses flickered one last time. Title: Kamudizur, Death Wolf. Rank: Lesser Incarna. Character: Death/Wolf Spirit. She must be the one the Shinigami spoke of, Naruto mused. They share the same deathly essence. The wolf spirits gathered in a half-circle before Naruto, each taking a moment to study him. It was Death Wolf who spoke first. So, you, little pup, are the last of our father's Uratha children, she whispered, her voice ancient and eerie. He doesn't seem much of a wolf, does he? Scoffed Destroyer Wolf. His voice was rough and raspy. Appearances are not always what they seem, elder brother, Black Wolf countered, her voice soft and sibilant. You would know, wouldn't you, the slyest of our siblings? Red Wolf chimed in, his voice metallic and abrasive. Black Wolf growled at Red Wolf, but before another word was exchanged, Winter Wolf intervened, his tone authoritative. Enough, my siblings. We came here for a reason, and we must see it through. The others nodded, though Red and Black Wolf exchanged glares, their tempers in check for now. If I may ask, what is the purpose of your gathering? I was told you were ancient allies of my kind, but not why, Naruto asked, his voice calm and respectful to the formidable spirits before him. Ah, yes. I nearly forgot, young pup, Winter Wolf replied, turning his attention back to Naruto. We, too, are children of Father Wolf, but unlike you, we were born of spirits, not mortal flesh. When your ancestors struck down Father Wolf in their arrogant pride, and Mother Luna took them under her guidance, your ancestors sought us out for assistance. 3 of our siblings refused them outright, but 5 of us chose to test their worth before offering our support. Those who passed our trials went on to form the 5 great tribes. My tribe became the Storm Lords, the leaders and political guides of the Uratha. Winter Wolf paused, as each of his siblings shared the story of their respective tribes. Mine were the Blood Talons. The fiercest warriors of the Uratha, unmatched in battle, and the most honorable on the field. They were our greatest soldiers, Destroyer Wolf added with pride. Mine were the hunters in darkness. Silent and stealthy, they were tasked with stalking our enemies and protecting the sacred sites of the Uratha, much like the ninja of this world, Black Wolf explained. Mine were the Iron Masters. The inventors, the protectors of the cities, and the guardians of the homes of the tribes. They preferred the cities over the forests, Red Wolf said. Lastly, there were the Bone Shadows. The Lore Keepers, those who ventured into the spirit world and maintained balance from within the shadow, Death Wolf concluded. Now, young Uratha, Winter Wolf continued, leading the conversation once more. The children we once guided are long gone, and the tribes are nothing more than forgotten stories. But you offer us a chance to reclaim the glory of old. So, we come to you with an offer, last of the Uritha. Will you accept our patronage? Which of our tribes will you choose to serve? Naruto thought carefully for a moment, remembering Luna's words, the 5 wolf spirits will seek you out. Show respect, offer them all the honor of your clan, and they will become your greatest allies and mentors. A sly grin appeared on Naruto's face. Honorable wolf siblings, I propose something different, he said. Rather than serving just one of your tribes, I offer my future clan's honor to all 5. In the human world, those who inherit unique powers like mine often form clans. I offer my respect to all of you, so that each of your tribe's storm lords, blood talons, hunters in darkness, iron masters, and bone shadows may be the leaders, warriors, hunters, protectors, and lore keepers of the world. The 5 wolf spirits exchanged surprised glances, before a collective grin spread across their faces. This pup has courage, they thought in unison. After a silent discussion, Winter Wolf nodded and spoke. You are bold, young one. Courage is a trait we value highly. We agree, but to prove your worth, you must pass each of our trials. For each test you succeed, we will grant you one of our gifts, and a fetish of our crafting. If you pass all 5, you will receive an honor no one else has ever received. I accept, Naruto said with resolve, determination flashing in his eyes. Since I tested your ancestors first, I believe it is only fitting that I test you first, Destroyer Wolf declared. The other spirits nodded in agreement as Destroyer stepped forward. And what test will you give me, mighty Fenrisur? Naruto asked. The werewolf's form shrank to the size of a bull. Simple, he said. Fight me. And with that, he lunged toward Naruto,